My phone buzzed against my thigh for the third time in 11 minutes, and that was when the driver's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror. He said, "Ma'am, quick question. Is anyone tracking your phone right now?" I had been in the back of his car for 22 minutes. I had ordered the ride at 6:48 in the evening from the parking lot of a strip mall in southwest Omaha, where I had just finished a 2-hour deposition prep with an attorney for a case I was a paralegal on. The driver had picked me up at 6:51. He had been polite when I got in. He had asked if the temperature was okay. He had not said anything else for the first 18 minutes of the drive, which was exactly what I wanted from an Uber driver on a Tuesday evening in March when I had been talking for 2 hours straight and had not yet eaten dinner. I said, "Not that I know of. Why?" He did not answer right away. He glanced at the rear view again. He glanced at his side mirror. He glanced back at the rear view. Then I heard the small sound of all 4 door locks clicking down at once. He said, "Because there's a black Honda CR-V that has been 3 cars behind us since I picked you up. 3 cars. Not 2, not 4. 3. The same 3 cars have been between us the whole drive. He has changed lanes when I have changed lanes. He has slowed when I have slowed. He has not passed when there has been room to pass. I noticed him at the second stoplight on Center Street. I told myself I was being paranoid. I am not being paranoid. He is following you. He has been following you for at least 22 minutes. I do not know if he was at the strip mall when you came out. I am asking about your phone because if he is not following the car visually, he is following something digital. I need to know which one we are dealing with before I decide where I am taking you." Hit subscribe. Drop your city in the comments. Stay all the way to the end. There is a thing I figured out that night about who I had been in proximity to without knowing it, and the figuring out has changed how I live in a way I am still adjusting to. Listen the whole way through. I want to tell you who I am before I tell you what happened, because the rest of it does not make sense without it. My name is Solveig Brenner. I am 38 years old. I have worked as a paralegal at a small civil litigation firm in Omaha for 11 years. I am not the kind of person anybody would describe as exciting. I rent a small 2-bedroom house in a neighborhood with a lot of older couples. I have a cat named Bramble. I have 1 good friend at work and 2 good friends from college who live in other cities. I read a lot of mystery novels. I go to a yoga class on Saturday mornings. I have a serious boyfriend named Tristan who lives in Lincoln and who I see most weekends. I am, in every external sense of the word, a person no one would have any reason to be following. I told the driver, "I do not understand why anybody would be following me. I am a paralegal. I just left a deposition prep meeting. There is nothing about me that is interesting to anybody." He said, "Ma'am, listen, my name is Reese. I drove a tow truck in Kansas City for 14 years before I moved here last spring. I have spent more hours of my life looking in rearview mirrors than most people have spent looking forward through their windshields. I am telling you that there is a vehicle behind us that has matched our pattern for 22 minutes. I am not asking you to explain why. I am asking you to help me figure out what to do about it. Where am I taking you? The address you put in is on Pinehurst Avenue. Is that your home address?" I said, "Yes, that is where I live." He said, "Then we are not going there. Where else can we go? Somewhere public, somewhere with cameras, somewhere with people." I tried to think. The 2-hour deposition prep had hollowed out my brain. I could not remember the names of restaurants I had eaten at the previous month. I had to think for several seconds before I remembered that there was a large grocery store with a parking lot full of cameras about 6 minutes from where we were. I said, "There is a Hy-Vee on 72nd Street. Big parking lot, always busy. They have cameras." He said, "Good, we are going there. While I drive, I am going to ask you to do 3 things. First, I want you to slowly, calmly, without making any sudden movements, Take your phone out of your bag and put it in airplane mode. Do not turn it off. Just airplane mode. If somebody is tracking you through your phone, airplane mode will stop the live tracking, but it will not alert whoever is tracking you that you have figured out you are being tracked. If you turn the phone off, the signal cuts immediately, and that is a tell. Airplane mode looks like a phone in a bad signal area. Second, while you are at it, I want you to think very hard about whether anybody, in the last several months, has had access to your phone for more than 5 minutes. A boyfriend, a coworker, somebody who borrowed it, somebody who fixed it at a repair shop, anybody. Stalkerware can be installed in less than 5 minutes if somebody knows what they are doing. Third, I want you to think about who knew you would be at that strip mall today, at that time, in that meeting. Make a list in your head. Tell me how long it is. I sat in the back of his car and I did the first thing. I took out my phone. I put it in airplane mode. The screen showed the small airplane icon at the top. I did the second thing. I tried to think. My phone had been in my own possession almost continuously for the last 6 months. I had not let anybody borrow it. I had not had it repaired. The only person who knew my phone passcode was Tristan, my boyfriend, who I had given it to once 8 months ago when his phone had died and he had needed to call his mother from mine. He had used it for about 3 minutes. He had given it back. I trusted Tristan. I had been with Tristan for 2 years and 4 months. He was a software engineer who worked from home and who came to Omaha every weekend, or had me come to Lincoln every weekend, and he was the kindest man I had been with since my divorce 6 years earlier. I did the third thing. I tried to make a list of people who knew where I had been that evening. The list was short. The attorney I had been prepping with knew. His paralegal, who had set up the meeting, knew. My boss at my firm knew, because the meeting had been on the firm calendar. Tristan knew, because I had texted him at 5:45 to tell him I was about to go into the prep and that I would call him after. That was the entire list. 4 people. I told Reese. He was quiet for a few seconds. He said, "Solveig, I am going to ask you something. I do not want you to answer me right away. I want you to actually think about it before you answer, okay?" I said, "Okay." He said, "How long have you been with the boyfriend in Lincoln?" I felt my skin go cold in a particular way. I felt it before I had thought through what he was implying. I felt it the way the body sometimes knows things before the mind catches up. I said, 2 years and 4 months. He said, "Has anything been weird with him in the last few months? Anything at all, even small, even something you wrote off?" I tried to think. I tried to be honest with myself. There had been small things. He had been more attentive than usual about my schedule for the last 2 months. He had been asking, more than he used to, exactly where I was going and exactly when I would be back. I had been telling myself it was sweet. I had been telling myself he was just being a good boyfriend. He had also, 3 weeks earlier, asked me to install a thing he called a couples app on my phone, which would let us share locations with each other. I had laughed and told him I did not want to do that I trusted him and he should trust me, and that I did not need to know where he was every minute, and he did not need to know where I was every minute. He had laughed too. He had said okay. He had not brought it up again. I had thought I had won that small disagreement. I had thought, looking back on it, that I had won it too easily. I told Reese what I was thinking. I told him in 2 sentences. I told him I was probably overreacting. He said, "Solveig, we are at the Hy-Vee. I am going to pull into the lot. I am going to park near the front, under a light, in view of 3 cameras I can see from here. The black CRV is going to drive past us, or it is going to come into the lot. I want you to stay in the car. I am going to get out and act like I am checking my tire. I am going to look at the driver of the CRV if he comes in. I am going to memorize the plate. I am going to come back and tell you what I saw. While I am out there, I want you to call somebody, Not your boyfriend. Somebody else. A coworker. A friend in a different city. Your mother. Anybody. Tell them where you are. Tell them what is happening. Tell them to stay on the phone with you. Do not turn off airplane mode while you are calling. Use my phone. Here." He pulled into the parking lot. He parked under a streetlight near the front of the store. He handed his phone back over the seat. He got out. He walked to the front passenger tire. He bent down and looked at it. He stood up. He walked around the car slowly, looking at all 4 tires, like a man who had been told there was a problem with one of them and did not know which. While he was walking, the black CR-V drove into the parking lot. I saw it through the back windshield. I saw it slowly turn down the second row of cars, 2 rows over from where we were parked. I saw the driver's profile through the windshield as he passed. I could not make out his face from that distance, in that light, but I could see that he was a man, that he was alone in the car, and that he was wearing a baseball cap. I called my best friend from college. Her name is Margot. She lives in Denver. She is an attorney. I had her number memorized because she had been my emergency contact since law school. She picked up on the 3rd ring. She said, "Hello?" I said, "Margot, it is Solveig. I am calling from an Uber driver's phone. I am okay. I am in a parking lot at a Hy-Vee in Omaha. There is a man following me. The Uber driver figured it out. We think it might be Tristan or somebody Tristan hired. I need you to stay on the phone with me. I need you to take notes. I do not know what is going to happen in the next hour. I need somebody who is not here to know what is happening." Margot did not say anything for 2 seconds. Then she said, "Okay, I am opening a notepad. Tell me everything from the beginning. Slowly. I have you." I told her. I told her in the order things had happened. I gave her Reese's name. I gave her the make and model of his car. I gave her my location. I gave her the make and model of the CR-V. I told her about the things that had been weird with Tristan. I told her about the couples app. I told her about the fact that the only people who had known where I would be that evening were 4, and 3 of them had no reason to follow me, and one of them was my boyfriend. Reese came back to the car about 4 minutes later. He got in. He locked the doors again. He turned around and looked at me through the gap between the seats. He said, "Solveig, plate is Nebraska. I have it written down on my phone. I am going to send it to you in a text the moment we are done with this so you have it." The driver got out of the car when he parked. He went into the store. He is in the store right now. He is wearing a baseball cap and a dark jacket. White man. About 6 foot. Heavy set. He looked at our car when he walked past us. Looked, not glanced. He saw me looking at him. He did not change his expression. He kept walking. He is in the store now. We have, by my best estimate, between 4 and 7 minutes before he comes back out, depending on what he is pretending to buy. "Solveig, I need to know what your boyfriend looks like. Is the man I just described your boyfriend?" I said, "No. Tristan is 5'10". He is thin. He has a beard. He does not wear baseball caps." Reese said, "Okay, so your boyfriend may not be following you personally. Your boyfriend may have hired somebody. Or it may not be your boyfriend at all, and it may be somebody else entirely. Either way, the man in the store is not somebody we know. Solveig, I am going to ask you one more time. Do you want to call the police?" I said, "Margot, I have you on the phone. Margot, what should I do?" Margot said, "Solveig, you are calling the police. You are calling them right now from Reese's phone. I am going to stay on this line on speaker. You are going to use Reese's phone to dial 911. You are going to tell the dispatcher exactly what Reese just told me. You are going to give them the plate. You are going to give them the description. You are going to tell them you are at the Hy-Vee on 72nd Street. You are going to tell them you are in fear for your safety. You are going to tell them you would like an officer to meet you in the parking lot. You are not going to leave the parking lot until that officer arrives. Reese, are you willing to wait with her until the officer arrives?" Reese said, I am not leaving this woman alone in a parking lot. I will wait as long as it takes. I will not be charging her for the wait time. I am turning the meter off when she gets off the call with you." Margot said, "Reese, thank you. Solveig, make the call now." I made the call. The dispatcher was calm. She asked good questions. She told me an officer was being dispatched to my location and would be there in approximately 7 to 9 minutes. She told me to stay in the car with the doors locked. She told me to keep her on the line. I told her my friend was on the other phone. She told me that was good. She told me to put both phones on speaker so she could hear if anything changed. I sat in the back of Reese's Hyundai Elantra in a Hy-Vee parking lot in southwest Omaha at 7:33 on a Tuesday evening with 2 phones on speaker and a woman in Denver and a dispatcher in Omaha and a former tow truck driver who had spent 14 years in Kansas City rearview mirrors, keeping me company while we waited for a police officer to arrive. The man came out of the store at 7:36. He was carrying a small plastic bag. The bag had something in it that did not look like much. He walked to the CRV. He got in. He sat in the driver's seat. He did not start the car. He sat there. He was watching us. We could see him from where we were parked. He could see us. The officer arrived at 7:41. The officer was a woman named Officer Yelena Stoyanov. She pulled into the lot in a marked cruiser. She parked behind us, blocking the row. She got out of her cruiser. She walked up to Reese's window. Reese rolled it down. He told her in 3 sentences what he had told me. He pointed to the CRV. The CRV started its engine. The CRV tried to back out of its parking space. Officer Stoyanov said, very calmly into her radio, "Suspect attempting to leave lot. Need backup vehicle to block east exit." She said it in a normal speaking voice. A second cruiser arrived 2 minutes later. The second cruiser blocked the east exit of the parking lot. The CRV did not get out. The driver sat in the CRV. The driver did not turn off his engine. Officer Stoyanov walked over to the CRV. She stood several feet from the driver's window. She motioned for him to roll the window down. He did. She spoke to him. I could not hear what she said. She spoke for about 6 minutes. She came back to our car. She said, "Ms. Brenner, the driver of that vehicle is named Patrick Donlevy. He is a private investigator. He has a license. He has been hired, by his account, to follow you and report on your movements to a client. He says he was hired 3 weeks ago. He is willing to give us the name of the client. The name he is willing to give us is Tristan Albright." I sat in the back of Reese's car. I did not say anything for several seconds. Margot was still on the line. The dispatcher was still on the line. Margot said, "Solveig, can you hear me?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I am very sorry. I want you to know I am very sorry. I want you to also know that I am proud of you for the next thing you are about to do, whatever it is." Officer Stoyanov said, "Ms. Brenner, I would like to take a statement from you. I would also like you to know that hiring a private investigator to follow your romantic partner without her knowledge is not, by itself, a crime in Nebraska. The investigator has a license. He is operating within his license. What is potentially a crime, depending on the rest of what we find, is anything else your partner has been doing alongside the surveillance. Stalkerware on your phone, unauthorized access to your accounts, patterns of coercive control. The investigator is, separately, willing to talk to us about what specifically he was asked to look for. He has indicated he has concerns about the assignment. Investigators have a reporting structure, and he has been considering reporting his client to the licensing board for the parameters of the assignment, which he has described as, quote, unusually invasive, end quote. If you give us a statement, and if we work with the investigator, there is a path here that may produce charges. There is also a path that may not. You have decisions to make in the next several days. The first decision you have to make is whether you are willing to come down to the precinct now and give a statement. I said, "Yes, I am willing." Reese drove me to the precinct. He waited in the lobby with me until Margot's brother, who lived in Omaha, and who Margot had called the moment our call ended, arrived to be with me. Margot's brother was named Caleb. He was a high school football coach. He was a large, kind man who I had met twice at Margot's wedding. He hugged me when he came in. He said, "Solveig, I am here as long as you need me." He sat with me for the 4 hours I gave my statement. He drove me home afterward in his own car. He stayed at my house with me that night, on my couch, with his phone on the coffee table next to him. He did not leave until 11 the next morning, when my coworker Frida arrived to take me to a locksmith to change my locks and to a phone repair store to have my phone forensically examined. The forensic examination of my phone, which the police paid for as part of the investigation, found 3 pieces of stalkerware. All 3 had been installed in a single 5-minute window that the timestamps placed at 8 months earlier, on the day Tristan had borrowed my phone to call his mother. He had not called his mother. He had installed 3 programs that had been quietly recording my location, my texts, my call logs, and a variety of other things, for the entire 8 months we had been together since. The investigation found, over the next 4 months, that Tristan had been doing similar things to 2 previous girlfriends. One of them had broken up with him 18 months before he had met me. She had not known why he had become so controlling so quickly. She had blamed herself. She had been in therapy for it for the year before any of this surfaced. The second one had broken up with him 3 years before that. She had filed a police report at the time, in a different state, that had not gone anywhere because the technology she had been describing had been new enough in 2020 that the officer who had taken her statement had not believed her. The report had been on file. The investigation in Omaha pulled it. The 2 reports together, with mine, established a pattern. Tristan was charged with 3 counts of unlawful electronic surveillance, 2 counts of stalking, and 1 count of harassment. He took a plea. He is currently serving 4 years in a state facility. The 2 previous girlfriends and I have been in touch. We are not friends, exactly. We are something different. We are women who survived the same man. We are working out, slowly, what that means. Reese, the Uber driver, refused to charge me for the ride that night. I have left him 5-star reviews under 3 different accounts since, because I want every passenger he picks up to know what kind of driver he is. I have also stayed in touch with him in a small way. He sends me a text on the anniversary of that night every year. The text says the same 3 words. The 3 words are you okay?" I write back the same word every year. I write back, "Yes." Margot is still my best friend. She is the person I call now when I am scared. She has saved a copy of the notes she took on her notepad that night. She has them in a folder in her email. She told me, 6 months later, that she keeps them because she wants to remember exactly what it sounded like when I called her, in case any other woman in her life ever needs her to recognize the sound. She said the sound is specific. She said the sound is the sound of a woman figuring something out about her own life in real time, with help, in a parking lot, with strangers. She said the sound is one of the most important sounds she has ever heard. I have not asked her to play the notes back to me. I do not need to hear them. I know what they say. I want to leave you with one specific thing, because the rest of this story has been about what happened, and the thing I want to leave you with is about what to do. The man who hurt me did not come at me with a weapon. He did not yell at me. He did not hit me. He did not, in any of the ways our culture has prepared women to recognize, give me a clear sign that something was wrong. He gave me a couples app suggestion that I laughed off. He asked attentive questions about my schedule. He came to see me every weekend and was gentle and thoughtful and patient. He installed 3 pieces of software on my phone in 5 minutes while I was making him a sandwich in my kitchen. He paid a private investigator $3,000 over 3 weeks to watch me drive between work and home and back. He was building, in the quiet, a complete picture of my movements that he could refer to when he ever needed to know exactly how to find me, where I would be, and who I had been talking to. He had not, as far as the investigation was able to determine, used any of that information to hurt me yet. He had been collecting it. The collecting was not a step before something. The collecting was the thing itself. We have a category in our culture for the men who hurt women loudly. We have a category for the men who hit. We have a category for the men who shout. We do not, in any clear way, have a category for the men who do this. We do not, mostly, have language for the slow, attentive surveillance that some men perform on the women they are partnered with their consent for some of it and without their consent for the rest of it, as a kind of ongoing background project. The surveillance does not always lead anywhere visible. Sometimes the surveillance is the entire thing. Sometimes the surveillance is a man building a model of a woman in his head that is more detailed than the model she has of herself, and the imbalance is the harm, and there is no obvious moment where the harm becomes a thing she can point to and name. I am asking you, if you are with somebody who has been getting more attentive to your schedule than you remember them being a year ago, to notice. I am asking you to notice without panicking. I am asking you to notice in a small, careful way, the way you would notice a smell on your dog that should not be there. The noticing is not an accusation. The noticing is information. Most of the time, the noticing will land on nothing. A partner becoming more attentive to your schedule is, most of the time, a partner becoming more invested in your life. Once in a while, it is something else. The way to find out is to notice, to write down what you noticed, and to ask one trusted person outside the relationship whether what you noticed sounds like something to pay attention to. I had been noticing for 2 months. I had been writing nothing down. I had been telling no one. I had been losing the noticing every time to the larger story I had been telling myself about the relationship I was in. The larger story was the wrong story. The smaller noticings were the real story. The smaller noticings were trying to add up in my own head to a picture I was not letting them add up to. A black CRV 3 cars behind a Hyundai Elantra in southwest Omaha was the moment the noticings finally added up, because somebody outside my head was the one who saw it. Reese, the Uber driver, saw it. He named it. He locked the doors. He asked me a question. The question was the question I had not been asking myself. The question opened the door I had been holding closed. I am asking you, this week, to ask yourself the question Reese asked me. Is anybody tracking your phone? The answer is probably no. Most of the time, the answer is no. Once in a great while, in a small percentage of cases, the answer is yes, and the asking is the only way you find out. Bramble is asleep on the windowsill as I am finishing this. My locks are new, my phone is new, my therapist is good. My boyfriend is in a state facility 4 hours from here. The 2 women who came before me text me every other Sunday. My job is fine. My life is mostly the same shape as it was before, except that the shape is now mine, and the shape is something I am holding by myself, and the shape is not being watched by anybody. And the not being watched feels, after a year of not being watched, like a kind of breathing room I did not know I had been missing. I am breathing. I am paying attention. I am asking the question. You can ask it too.